do I keep the coaches interested in me even when I have nothing to say and I have no games coming up? I'm the college soccer guy. I hope you play college soccer. Let's get into it. So, when you feel like you have nothing to say to the college coaches, usually there is a lot actually that still can be said in order to keep them updated. Because remember, if you get interest from them from a camp or from a showcase or from a video, and then don't talk to them for a month or 2 months or 3 months, you will be forgotten. They get new emails every day. So your consistency over time is frankly why my students are so successful. We start early, we're consistent for a long time. The kids will get answers from the coaches because they've been constantly communicating with them, because they know what to say and they know what to follow up with. And that is what I'm going to teach you. So today I'm going to show you a case study of me going through exactly how to move the needle and keep the coaches updated with one of my students. This particular student is a junior, and we're talking to him and his parents in order to figure out how do we keep them interested and move the needle.
So I sent out a bunch of these emails for following up after well, first of all, it was like I followed up after the showcase, and then some schools followed that back, so I was replying to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also sent out one kind of mass email to all the schools I had been talking to well, all the schools I've been talking to that were in the area. I sent them my schedule
Perfect.
for the spring, and I sent that all the genuine schools every touch video against NYCFC.
Perfect.
And I've gotten replies for that. But I think I'm like in this stage with a lot of schools where they're replying genuinely, and I think they're interested. Like I don't really know how to take the next step without them seeing me in person.
Well said. Very well said. The bottom line is you're probably right that they have to see in person, which means the only way to guarantee that is a camp. And we know there's benefits and negatives to that. Mainly when it comes to the D1 schools, that's where the hurdle really is. For the Division 3 schools, you go to a camp and they've seen video of you and they like you, then that's a very powerful move. And obviously we want to play at the highest level. So I know that doesn't solve your answer, but you're not wrong. Like your instinct to go, I don't know like we could send more video and they'll say the same thing. They'll go, we liked it. We need to see you in person. And you're not wrong. But we can go through the emails and I can dissect them a little bit deeper, but there is truth to that.
All right, so the most recent one I got today was from Williams. They just said they're looking forward to watching.
Cool.
I mean, I've been in contact with Williams. They saw me play at, I think, 2 ID camps, and they've shown interest. But I don't think other than those 2 ID camps, right? I think I only played in front of like one of the assistants that was like hired like that month. So I don't know.
So with
Um,
this is a good example. So you don't have to respond or anything like that. You just sent a message. I'm just gonna make a note in the document that like with Williams, they've seen you play twice, you say? Even if it was the assistant?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was kind of like it was an ID camp, and I wasn't with the coach. They were just happened to be at the same. It was a Yale ID camp.
It was Yale ID game. Okay, that's okay. If this is true, which like is Williams a school that you are interested in? Yes.
Yes.
To move the needle in this scenario with Williams, who don't necessarily need to see you at 5 showcases, we're gonna ask them pretty much straight up, do you want me? Period. Or question mark. Do you want me? Or what else do you need? Question mark. And if then let's get a straight answer. So for Williams, I drafted the email and I basically wrote it and I basically said, you've seen me play twice. What else do you need from me? I've sent you video. You've seen me play twice. What is next? And if they go, we need to see you in person, then okay, that's where we stand. If they go, we really like you, would you be interested in a visit? Then there's another scenario. So that's good. I drafted that one. Show me another one. That was a good one though. Very good one.
This was from UVA.
Okay, what I meant is we hope it went well for you though, but so this one we know that like we could go to their showcases or their ID camps, but that would be a pretty much a waste of time for Virginia. But they did leave their cell phone. So I'm just gonna have you respond and just say, Dear coach, we weren't able to make it do the spring season. We hope it went well for you. How did it go? This was the
I
USL
mean,
Tech Cup.
I
You
like
went,
sent I sent the
yeah, you
how
did
we
really
did in the previous
perfect.
email.
So why don't we also with Virginia, because it's a reach school, we're going to be very direct and in their face. And we're going to say, Dear coach, thank you so much. Am I part of your 2025 uh recruiting? Am I on your recruiting board? for part of the 2025. Okay, we're just gonna ask him straight away, and then you're gonna text him. I sent over a brief text as well. And then we're gonna say in the text. So one of the things that I said, like before I started looking at your emails, I said to move the needle, we have to be seen in person. Or, which is what I'm showing you now, you're at a point, like let's say you didn't send as many videos as you have and as many emails, like you've only sent one or two. We get to ask very real questions going into the summer, which is great because then we can figure out, our summer schedule basically.
Can I ask you a question about like a school like Virginia? Like he hasn't like gone to any of their ID camps. Like does that matter?
The answer to your point is having not gone to a camp, not seen in person, they're going to go, we just haven't seen enough of you. That's probably what's going to happen. But from our perspective, and this is my honest opinion, going to their camp doesn't really move the needle unless they specifically ask us to after having seen us at a showcase. So from my perspective, I'd rather just be a direct and go, hey, like if we say, am I on the recruiting board? They go, absolutely no, absolutely not. Like you need to come to a camp. Then as a family, we can go, is it, they told us that they've responded. Maybe they text us. It's worth going to a camp. It's Virginia. It's a dream school type of place. Let's go for it. Or they go, look, what showcase are you being at? And then we have that issue and we go, all right, well, we're not going to waste our time with Virginia. That's where we stand. With this type of school, even though we haven't sent a dozen emails and we haven't been seen in person, because it's a school that doesn't need an ID camp, I'm comfortable being aggressive. If you guys say, I don't want to be that aggressive, then I can tell you right now, we should go to their camp, et cetera, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
This is Carnegie Mellon. And
Okay.
I've been going back and forth with Carnegie. This isn't just like the only thing. I also talked to him at in person at a ELID camp. Email he sent me.
I really enjoyed watching you in New Haven. We're looking forward to staying in touch, seeing play at some point in the upcoming few months. We won't be usual, but we'll hopefully see at another event. Our ID camp starting to fill. So here's a good question. Plus, it looks like he left his cell phone. Have you texted him?
I have not, no.
Okay. So let's text him. And the big thing for this one is Carnegie Mellon. We're gonna go. I would wait a week. I would wait a week because what did he say last? He said, "Thanks for sharing my good stuff." So I already watched it. So we're just gonna say, actually, we can. So you can send this soon. You can say, "Dear Coach, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As of now, my team is not. You tell me if this is wrong. Do you know any showcase events you're attending?
No.
Yeah. So that's okay. My team is not attending any showcase events as part of the USL Academy. I know you mentioned, I know you mentioned looking forward to seeing me at a future event. Given I don't have any showcases coming up. Next step. Now, so here's the answer to this question we already know, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, which is either it's possible he'll say, look, our ID camp is not competitive enough. We need to see you in a more competitive environment. That's possible. Unlikely, to be honest, but possible. And he'll probably say, you know what, yeah, we'd love to see you at camp. But what's helpful about that is when he watches you at camp, his headspace is going to be, this is how I'm going to be able to recruit the kid. I'm going to recruit him right here, right now, because I'm not going to be able to recruit him otherwise. And putting the coach in that headspace is wonderful because one, he'll watch you very closely. And two, by putting him in that headspace, he'll be thinking like there is no other opportunity. Let's do another one. That was good.
All right. This is Princeton.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing. All right, so basically, we're gonna do the exact same thing as Carnegie for that one.
This is Rochester.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Great job finding the pocket. Some great pass forward too. Good luck. I do not think we will be able to make it out for just one. Let me know an ID clinic. Okay, let me know which ID clinic you'll be able to make. So that's the answer to this one. And it's also, by the way, you go to their camp, they make you an offer. That's it. So this one, if you think about it in cupboards or drawers, like I have these shelves over here, we put Rochester in a shelf, and the shelf is where I want all the other schools to be exactly where this school is, saying this is what you need to do, and then we get to decide if we want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Rochester, you don't have to. I would send a thank you and also tell them what ID camp we can go to if you can. If you guys are open to that, are you guys open to that?
I think we're still debating
Okay. What are you debating about?
because I think just the amount of ID camps that I'm planning on going this summer.
Yes. Okay. So
Also,
we
where
can begin to
Rochester
map it
lands.
out. Very reasonable. I can tell you if you don't go to their camp, you probably won't be recruited by this school. Okay, Columbia. Okay, thanks, Bob, for the update. Some great moments against New York City. Awesome. And they're responding. You guys, these schools responding, it's just very difficult to do. It's not my fault. My club isn't doing any more showcases. I'm being a responsible adult looking at my schedule in the future, and I'm letting you know this dilemma. What do you think I should do? So that way you can move forward in the process. And they may not respond, some of them, to this email we're going to send because it's very poignant. It's very to the point. And that doesn't mean they don't like us. We just have to follow up. Like they want you to go to their camp, I'm sure. It's the PPA camp. This is Amherst, right?
This is Amherst, yeah.
Yeah. So I can tell you right now, they will want you to go to their camp. So this also, which is kind of a good thing, we have to decide what school do we want to go to academically? Like, would you rather go to Williams or Amherst? Because to your point, we can't go to all these camps. And the only way to decide that is one, of course, the coach's interest in us, which we're trying to gauge right now. But also, what school do you want? What school do you think you would enjoy? And so it's probably time. We did it once before. We'll probably should do it again, is creating this list of schools that are like ranked between number 1 through number 25, and we can split them up between D1 and D3. But it is time to do another ranking. The first part, Coach Pinto is no longer on staff here, but I appreciate you keeping us updated. Would love to have the chance to watch you play this summer. That's genuine. The rest of it is a robot. So scroll up for me. Look, so with that one, it's a pretty generic interest. So from a soccer perspective, I would tell you guys, like, I would rather you go to like the Princeton or Columbia camp than Northwestern because they've been more genuine in this instance. And we've played in front of them, right? At the camp.
At Northwestern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you talked to the head coach, and I thought he was pretty enthusiastic.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
To you.
That was
He
like
liked, he
February.
liked me.
Okay. So this email that he sent, this is from the head coach? Okay.
I think it's from an assistant.
I think so too. And also yeah, it is from the assistant. And you've been seen by the head coach. So actually ignore this email entirely. What I want you to do is send a separate email to the head coach. Okay, take me to another email.
All right. This is generic, but she was replying genuinely to another chain that was before.
Okay. So they haven't seen you play in person, right?
No.
So going back to ranking our schools, Pomona Pitzer is very realistic, and they recruit local kids a little bit more only because they get to see them more often. But obviously, it's a very good school. They have kids from out of state all the time. And for that one to move forward, we would need to go to camp. And so we'll come back to that because we'll rank your schools and we'll find out where Pomona Pitzer ranks in that list. He obviously loves the video. Oberlin's an interesting case. They play very possession oriented soccer, like to an extreme degree. They've lost recently, but they play really good soccer, and you're perfect for that system. The question is, it's a liberal arts school. Is it a school we would like? It's a very good academic school. For the D3 schools, not for all of them, like Amherst might be an exception. Carnegie's probably up there, but for the D3 schools, they've seen your video. The walls are starting to close in terms of offers being made. Yes, I'm sure they have. Actually, they would have made a few offers and a couple people would have agreed because that's the cream of the crop. But the point is, these schools tends to make their decisions through the summer. So they're not in a huge rush at this point to be like, we want you all. So we have a bunch of quarters lined up specifically with the D3s where one more quarter, a quarter in this case would be like, go to this ID camp, maybe another video. Maybe I'm going to talk about having your coach help us a little bit in a minute. And that could be the final quarter. The question that really now is important is, and I know with your school schedule is difficult, but like you guys need to go visit. Well, you have already, but you need to consider visiting some schools and meeting the coaches in person. On either we kind of force a visit, meaning we rank our schools, which we'll do today, and you guys say, hey, these are our top schools. We need to go visit the schools to confirm because we would go to them athletically or academically and academically. And we're going to message the coach that we're going to be on campus, and let's meet with the coach, have him meet us in person. And that can really move the needle. Going back to your initial question. The other thing is you aren't going to be ready to commit to any of these schools unless you go to their campus and meet the coach. That makes sense. So we'll go back to your list and we'll create two separate lists. And the goal would be, if we had like 15 D1s and say 15 D3s, that you go visit campus of 2 to 3 of them. I'm not going to have you visit all 30 of them. That doesn't make sense. But, your top ones we should visit. And also, you're more than capable of playing college soccer. You know that, I believe. So this was like a list of schools we had initially, and we split them up to like not in contact / in contact with. So when you go through the process, think about recreating your list as like a shedding moment. Like we will reshed ourselves many times. You're not built to create one list and stick to it. We have to recreate the list many times over. That's very, very typical. So we can use this list as a reference so we don't forget any schools. But the biggest thing is I'll put here like new ranked list. And I want us to split it up for simplicity for now between D1 and D3. If I were to ask you, your top D1, which would be your top?
Northwestern.
Okay, so that's really telling that because when we think about camps, and we're going to message them, obviously, tell me your top D3.
Williams.
Okay, awesome. So with these two schools, have you been on campus at Williams yet?
No.
Okay, so it's up to us. I'm not saying we have to do this right now, but basically I'm going to say this. The top 5 schools in each. Here is an email I would like us to consider. And I might change what I had originally drafted. So, dear coach, I am planning to come visit campus on da-da-da to da-da-da. Would it be possible to meet you in person briefly? Now, the reason I'm saying this, look, the schools are going to end in some cases, and I'm not asking you to like book the visit. I want to basically say, I'm going to be there anyways. Can I come? And then you'll see if they say yes, then we book the visit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is a bit aggressive, but that's what you do for your top schools. You're not going to do that for school number 15. You just do that for these. Now, Northwestern, you've been to their camp. That's different. Williams, from my opinion, from what we spoke about today, give them a week and a half. They've seen you play twice at the Yale camp, so it's not their own campus, is what their argument will be. But we pretty much asked, what would you advise? I think you should still do this one first, but then in the back of your head, if they don't respond, or if they say, hey, here's the next steps, we can always go back to this concept of pushing the envelope and saying we're coming. Well, give me a number 2 for D1.
Brown.
Okay.
Maybe.
Are there any D3 schools that would trump a top 5 D1 school for you, or no?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Once you've created your top 15, we'll say 15 for each. Create top 15 for each. Please note, we're going to go like this. Northwestern, we're going to make a section for each. So, camp date, just so you know what it is. I'm not saying you're going to go, but just so you know. Last form of contact. And so for this one, you go like semi-genuine email from DeRose, just because that's where we're at. And you would do the so on and so forth with everybody else, just so we all are on the same page and we know where we're all at. Then you guys will look at the list. You will take a virtual tour on YouTube to help you rank the list. I don't really care, like after number 5, I don't really care if it's ranked perfectly. But the top 5, I think you need to know what your top 5 are. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Virtual tour on YouTube to help rank the list, map out the summer in a realistic way. So for example, we're going to send out a couple emails, which will help us. But I also want us to maybe, after we create this list, to send out another round of emails once we have the list there and say to them, very similar to what we've said to Carnegie and to Princeton and to Columbia, like, hey, I'm not going to any showcases. Basically, is a camp sufficient? If so, let me know, because then you will decide. And then this summer, in terms of like, if you said, how many camps should I go to, Zev? It's a hard answer to give you like directly. I don't think more than 3 would be necessary, but it also depends. If you go to, say, the Williams camps in the spring and they go like, yep, we really like you, and you feel there's real significant interest from them or another D3 program we really like, then we basically say, unless a D3 program meets Williams, we're not going to go to any other D3 camps because we have this one we quite like. Then we can focus the rest of our summer on D1s only.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
Um, well, one thing is like Johns Hopkins had asked for his transcript and got no response. Like, should he do something else?
Yes, let's send a follow-up and literally say, like, I just wanted to politely follow up. I know you asked for my transcript. Let me know if you need anything else.
Did you send them the NYCFC?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's add that in. We could go, dear coach, I just wanted to politely follow up. I know you have.
Oh wait, no, I did send it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And they didn't respond to that?
No.
Perfect. So I know you had requested my transcript. And I had attached. Perfect. So that's the follow-up we're gonna do. Good question. And that's pretty much, this template is the same for like anybody that hasn't responded in a few weeks. This is the template.
Okay. So yeah, my other questions are like, I noticed like a lot by far the vast majority of the MLS academies U19 teams are also playing in UPSL. Like, how do the kids on those teams get seen as well?
Good question. They don't get seen at the UPSL games like ever, unless the UPSL team has like gone to the final, like Cincinnati did. But they go see him at MLS Next events. However, if you're playing against an MLS academy via the UPSL, then like we would tell coaches, I'm playing for the UPSL of the Hartford against these MLS teams, and then we would send video like we have done, and we would even invite them to games. But we know they don't come to UPSL league games very often.
When schools like recruit kids, that are really far away, like, are those basically only kids that are in MLS Next?
Good question.
Because that's the only time they can see them are at those showcases.
Certainly for Division I schools, pretty much. But like for Pomona Pitzer, 90% of their kids go to an ID camp that are local and they don't get seen at a showcase.
I guess my feeling is that I think he really wants to play at a D1 school. Does it make sense to like try to get interest from a D1 school that's maybe like not quite in the same academic tier as the ones we're looking at?
Yes, if you guys are open to that, absolutely. So if D1 is really what we want, then the simple answer is yes. We can send them a mass email. I can show you guys how to do that with this new format thing we have. And we should send out to like quote unquote the second to third lower tiers of the D1 programs. They will still need to see him at a showcase though. And a camp will still not be enough.
I see. Okay. No, let me go back because he was signed up to go to a Brown ID camp, which he could not go to because he's recovering from injury. I mean, I think he's fine now, but he was recovering at the time. And so he emailed them saying, I signed up for it. I can't go, blah, 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 and didn't get a response and sent the every touch. So I'm wondering about the follow up from that. But also, I think they're starting to call up academy players to first team training. He might get, there's a possibility. Is there anything if he gets called in? Is there anything we should do?
If the coaches record training on Spadeo or some version, we'd love the video. Unfortunately, the coaches will still say we need to see him in person. That school you mentioned that hadn't responded. What school was that?
Brown.
That was Brown. Okay, so with Brown, the follow up we would do is we haven't heard back. It would be this one for sure. Once we have your ranked schools, so once their schools are ranked, once we have your ranked schools, I would like to ask our coach at Hartford to call 3 to 5 of those schools on our behalf. Even if he doesn't get them on the phone, I want to ask him to call them. If he says, don't worry about it, you don't need to do anything, they'll come, that's bad. Okay, so I'll say red flag. If he just says they're going to come, don't worry, they will come, then we would have another discussion the next day and say, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm uncomfortable with that. Because of that, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go guest play over here. If there's consequences to me and this team, I have to live with those. That's how life goes. Red flag number 2 is, well, I'll call it green/red because it can depend green/red. If he says, I will call those schools for you, which he might do. My only concern with this is just because they call them doesn't mean it's always enough. So they call, they don't get them on the phone, and then it dies. So I will call those schools for you. You then have to let him do that. You have to give him a week to do so. Because he's saying, here, I'm going to try and help you. And then after that, if nothing has moved the needle, then you have another meeting, then you have another meeting, and you say, thank you for your help. I'm still in a difficult place. I don't want to leave Hartford, but there are some MLS Next teams who would likely allow me to guest play with them. What do you think I should do? You can't say like, I'm just gonna go do it. If he says to you, I'll call those schools for you, you need to have your list ready. And it's gonna be basically your top 5 schools. And I want it to be like 2 D3s and 3 D1s. And assuming the coach respects your coach, which he will. And if your coach says, look, he's trained with first team guys, he's definitely a D1 player. If he says things like that on the phone, then the coaches can go one ID camp, just like with the MLS Next kids, and be done. No showcases have to be concerned.
My only question is trying to figure out which camps to go to.
Once you make this list, here, I'll make one more section, is you'll say rank out of 10 how interested they are in you. So with Northwestern, the head coach was really interested, but it's kind of gone back and forth. So I would put it like 6 or 7. Let's do 7 out of 10. If Brown is a 3 out of 10, because we haven't heard from them, put 5 out of 10. Now you guys can decide which camp you should go to. So before you decide what camps, I strongly recommend just make this list and the answer will come at you. I hope you enjoyed that. I know that was a lot. If you watched all the way until this moment, awesome. Give me a subscribe, thumbs up, and maybe an emoji down below because this was a long video and I'm very proud of you for watching it and doing the work with me. This is the work we do for our students. If you want more help like this, give me a call, link to the bio, and I'll talk to you soon.